A baby girl who has been playing with a toy gives a look of a scared cat. She wonders why she suddenly thought of the romance novel she had read, which had a tacky and childish plot left by her customer. She wonders if she recalled it because the princess that gets executed in it has the same name as hers. Seeing the toy roll from the baby's hand, the maid picks it up and places it again in the baby's hand. The princess wonders why the maid gave the toy to her without even wiping it. Is it because she is an outcast? The toy drops from her hands again, and the maid asks her if she is bored with it now, picks her up and lays her down. The princess thinks she can't get used to all of this and remembers her past when she went to sleep after taking some sleeping pills and woke up to all of this. Seeing the baby cry, the irritated maid tells her that she is busy and asks her to stop crying. The princess wonders why, of all things, she had to be reborn as a princess that everyone hates. Athanasia, who we will call Athi, dreams of the father of the princess in that novel, who was a real psycho. She gets goosebumps. According to what she overheard from the maid's talking, it seems that this ruby palace where she is currently living was originally where the emperor's concubine lived. Or so it was until the day she was born, when the emperor killed everyone in the ruby palace. Her mother was a dancer invited to the royal banquet. She drew the emperor's attention and was deflowered by him, but was then forgotten and died, leaving an infant behind who was Athanasia. Since then, the emperor has cast his child aside too, his baby girl. So Athi was raised by the maids of the ruby palace. Since hearing that story for the first time, Athi has been having nightmares. But what scares her more than nightmare is the emperor, whom she has never even met yet. Athi worries about her future. Her name Athanasia was given by her mother. Is the same name as the ill-fated princess in that romance novel Lovely Princess. Athanasia faces a tragic death at the age of 18 at the hands of her own father. Maids enter her room, behaving indifferent to her. Athi wonders if they are belittling her as an outcast, as the emperor never came to see her. She is determined to stay as a forgotten princess, plans to run away with some ornaments and money and begin her new life. Days in the ruby palace were peaceful. The emperor never visited her, and everyone was at ease. Athi grew up a little. A maid reads a book to Athi about the kingdom. Hearing about sorcerer, Athi realizes that this is not just some random foreign country and that she is really in a fantasy world. Seeing a picture of a man in the book, she asks who he is. Lillian replies that he is her father, Claude de Algarobelia. Athi is dumbstruck. She thinks of the similarities between her present life and the novel Lovely Princess. She gets shivers and begins to think about the novel, which is a big hit online. There are two princesses in the story. The protagonist is the second princess named Janet, a beautiful lady with an angelic heart loved by everyone. And among those who adore Janet was her father Claude. To his people, he is praised as a hero and savior of the nation. But in truth, he is a heartless man who killed his elder brother, the proper heir, and sat himself upon the throne. Claude learned of Janet's existence when she turned 14. Janet's mom was Claude's fiancée. After realizing her existence, Claude was cold towards Janet at first. However, her being an unbelievably lovable person due to being the protagonist eventually melted the cold, icy fort that was Claude. After enraging him and losing her place as his bride-to-be, she died while giving birth to Janet. Janet's aunt tried to protect her niece from Claude by hiding her away in the care of Alpheus' family. Supported by her father, she was wed to Prince Alpheus, the best man in the empire, and lived happily ever after. On the other hand, Athanasia was the firstborn and the same age as Janet. Athi's existence was informed to Claude the moment she was born. But he left the child in the palace for concubines. The first time she ever sees her father is on her 9th birthday. Led by the lights and noise of the banquet, Athi leaves the ruby palace late that night, where she meets Claude in the garden of the emperor's palace. Claude turns away and leaves uninterested, but to a girl like Athi, who has never received any affection, this was quite a fateful encounter. She tries with all her might to be loved by her father, growing up into a beauty with both skill and grace. On the day of Athi's debutante, when she turned 14, when she sees Janet, her dreams get shattered into pieces. Maybe everyone loved Janet more because she was always cheerful and bright as a sun. She lost everything to Janet. When Janet was poisoned, Athi was accused of poisoning her. Janet's aunt schemed everything to make her niece the first heir to the throne. Claude killed Athanasia even before she was found guilty. Eventually, the truth was revealed, but Claude never felt an ounce of regret on killing his first daughter. Therefore, she is determined to lead a happy life because it seems she has become that very Athanasia. Hearing Athi's cries, a maid rushes and picks her up. She is Lillian York, the only person who truly cared about Athi and claimed Athanasia as innocent. And for that, she also gets killed by the hands of Claude. She always admired Athanasia's mom, Diana, who had a spirit as free as a bird. But Diana died right after giving birth, and Claude shockingly massacred everyone in the Ruby Palace. Years passed. Athi asks for a chocolate from the maid. At first, the maid refuses, but they could not resist in front of Athi's cuteness and gives her chocolates, asking her to keep it a secret. Athi is now 5 years old, and she has managed to get the maids on her side. While wandering in the garden, she comes across a fountain and she sees her reflection in it. She is mesmerized by her beauty. She soon gets lost and wonders where she is. While trying to find her way out, she comes across an unknown palace. Seeing the palace empty, she sneaks in. She had been wondering where she could hide the riches of her future escape. Maybe it's destiny that led her to this palace, which can be used as her hiding place. One day, while drawing, she wonders what might have happened to her original body. It wasn't difficult for her to learn the language. Everyone was shocked when she wrote down some letters and showed them. From then onwards, everyone regarded her as an intellectual. She screwed up her plan of living a life without the spotlight, and thus her education began. She has been hiding jewels and ornaments in the Ruby Palace. But when she heard the palace is being cleaned, she had no choice but to hide them in a pouch tied to her little thighs. She soon realized that she needs to hide it somewhere else. She runs to her hiding palace and decides to bury it under a tree. But since she didn't have a shovel, she hid it and decided to come tomorrow with a shovel. She again visits her hiding place and comes across a few golden statues. She thinks that if there are so many, maybe no one will notice if she takes one. To check if it's real gold, she buys the sculpture. She hears a voice from behind saying, "What's this filthy bug doing in my palace?" She gets startled. She gets flustered and drops the pouch, and all the ornaments and jewels scatter on the ground. The man states that he has seen Athi somewhere. The man has the same jeweled eyes as her. Athi thinks then this must be Claude. She shivers. He gives off a mysterious smile and says that he remembers what Diana named her. It's Athanasia. Athi's heart beats faster and chills run down her spine. He squats down and tells her that she has grown a lot. She wonders if he intends to kill her since she is old enough. Suddenly, Claude's attention turns towards the rubies on the ground. Claude lifts her up and says that she is heavy. Athi gets furious. When Claude asks her what she is doing in his palace, Athi is shocked to know that it is his palace. When Claude notices the bite marks, he picks Athi up. She flinches and starts sweating profusely. In her mind, she wonders if she will be executed for trespassing and leaving bite marks on his angel statue. Claude then orders Felix to carry Athi and they both sit down to enjoy various pastries. Athi avoids making eye contact with Claude and remains silent. Claude admits that he was unaware of her inability to speak and finds it boring. Athi worries that a lack of entertainment may result in her death, but she forces a smile and brightly replies that she can indeed speak. Claude stares at her for a moment before dismissing Felix and asking Athy if she knows the meaning of her name. Although Athy is aware that it means king, she feigns innocence. In Obelian culture, emperors are given names that mean eternity or immortality. But since Claude was never granted such a name, Athy worries that he may become frustrated with her name and kill her. Claude orders Athy to eat and threatens to punish the chef if she doesn't comply. Despite her trembling with fear, Athy fakes a smile and begins to eat. When Claude asks who taught her manners, she replies that it was Lily. Claude reveals that 5 years ago, Lily approached him and asked to take care of Athy. Athy is touched by this information. Claude then asks if she knows who he is, which fills Athy with dread. She wonders if this is a test to determine if she will live longer or be killed. She utters, "Father." Remembering how Claude loved Janet for her cheerful nature, she tries another word, "Papa." She is perplexed about what to say. Claude is stunned and Athy's heart beats rapidly. Realizing she is left with no choice, she again says, "Papa." With a bright and warm smile, she survives, but the Ruby Palace is thrown into chaos when she is nowhere to be found. Everyone is flabbergasted when she returns in the arms of the Emperor's royal guard. Felix declares that Claude will visit Athy in the near future, leaving everyone half happy and half scared. At night, Athy begins planning for her future. Her plan A of living a life without being noticed has failed. Her plan B, which is to save enough money to escape the palace before turning 18, is still possible. Although she met Claude 4 years earlier, he doesn't seem like he will kill her instantly. So, should she continue to collect precious jewels? And finally, plan C, which is to continue playing cute to steal Claude's heart. She considers this plan impossible, but she decides to carry out both plan B and C. She considers the shame and embarrassment she will suffer from it as an investment for her future. Then she goes to sleep. Chapter begins with Lily greeting Claude. He thanks her for taking care of Athy and declares that from now on he will also be looking after the princess's well-being and smiles at Athy. Athy is scared to hear this. She prays that he will pay her no mind in the future. He further says that starting today, Princess Athanasia will be treated as a proper princess. Athy wonders why the plot is taking a different path from the original one. Lily assures Athy that everything will be alright. After 5 days, when Athy and Claude meet, Claude says that Athy has gotten chubbier since the last time he saw her. To this, she replies that he looks pretty too. They continue to meet a few more times. During these meetings, she realizes that it might benefit her if she acts cheerful and friendly. Claude asks Athy to join him on a boat ride. He asks if she wants to ride with him. She smiles and replies, yes. Both of them sit and ride the boat. She wonders how the boat is moving. Seeing her deep in thought, Claude asks what she is thinking about. Confused about what to say, she compliments him, seeing his hair is sparkly and pretty. This reminds Claude of the jewel pouch Athy had and asks Athy to retrieve them the next time. As usual, Claude looks breathtaking. Athy is mesmerized by Claude's beauty, realizes why women are so drawn to him, and wonders if the color of her eyes is the same as his. Something in the pond grabs Athy's attention, a beautiful blue flower. She wonders if it's a blue lotus and becomes determined to pluck one. As she reaches for the plant, she loses her balance and falls into the pond. Struggling to breathe, she calls for help but is shocked to see Claude sitting still, seemingly with no intention of saving her. Athy is terrified and bedridden by shock when Claude finally rescues her and orders Felix to teach her to swim. In the aftermath, Athy abandons her plan C to win Claude's heart, realizing it's impossible to win over someone so heartless. Instead, she decides to eat chocolate and goes to grab one. Suddenly, she hears footsteps and looks back. She yells in surprise. To her surprise, it's Lily, who says that Athy's presence is requested. She is stunned to see a bunch of new maids greeting her. Felix greets her and says that starting today, he will be her temporary royal guard. Athy is seen pouting, wishing to see her old maids, Hannah and Cis. Felix says that she will be meeting them soon. Claude switched the old maids with new ones. She feels that these new maids will be indifferent to her charms and all her hard work is in vain. Felix suggests she have a conversation with Claude, mentioning that he wanted to have dinner with her. Athy bids Lily farewell and leaves with Felix. Seeing nobody in Claude's palace, Athy asks why there are no ladies or knights. To this, he replies that Claude prefers to do everything and can protect himself. Felix knocks but getting no reply from Claude, they assume that maybe he is asleep. Felix tells Athy to get inside and that Claude would be pleased to be woken up by him. She walks across the room, looking at one thing to another. She comes across a big map made of pure gold. She wonders if everything on the wall is made of gold. Then she sees a portrait of a noble lady. She tries to remember where she has seen it. She turns and suddenly sees Claude sleeping peacefully on the couch. He is fast asleep. She wonders if she should wake him up with a punch. She knows that she won't get another chance to get revenge and decides to do so. She raises both her hands, but something drops from her dress and bounces on Claude's forehead. She gets nervous seeing him open his eyes. In order to handle the situation, she hugs him, asking him to sleep tight and begin singing a lullaby. Claude asks what song was that. She replies to him that this song helps to say goodbye to bad dreams. She smiles brightly and says, "Good morning, Papa." Claude stands up and says that he should ask the servant to prepare their dinner. He stares at Athy, devoid of any expression. He asks her to eat, and when he tries to cut the meat, the spoon slips from her hand. He tells her that he would send someone to teach her etiquette tomorrow. Claude's constant staring makes it difficult for her to swallow her food. At night, she expresses her desire to hear a lullaby to Lily. Lily sings her to sleep. On the other hand, Claude seems to remember Diana and Athanasia. He tells Felix he would have forgotten Diana's face if he had not met Athy so soon. Felix compliments Athy and asks him if he enjoyed his meal with her. Claude says that he lost such emotions a long time ago. He orders Felix to leave. Felix looks at the sky and thinks that although Claude may say such things, he is certain that there are still some emotions left in him and one day it will be evident.